The foreground law examines how the eye can separate shapes in a design from the background of that design. The law of foreground states that we can distinguish an object from background. This rule shows that when we look at a design, we perceive the figure from the ground distinctively. There are two main factors that affect the way we perceive the figure and the ground in any given design. The size of the figure when compared to the background. For example, header text is normally published in larger font than body text. In this instance, the header is the figure and the body the ground. The header stands out more to the eye than the main body of the text. Secondly, the contrast between the figure and the ground. This is why most printed pages will use black ink on a white background. The figure, which is the text, is at maximum contrast with the ground, which is the page. Contrast provides a distinct barrier between the two. This is why the readability of the content can be impaired when there is little contrast between the text and the page. It becomes more difficult for us to distinguish the figure from the ground. Have you ever wondered why you never find red text on a blue or grey screen? Contrast is the reason. Some common examples include the famous image of the old woman and the young lady, and the depiction of the white vase, and can also be perceived as two faces. The foreground principle is similar to the closure principle in that it takes advantage of the way the brain processes negative space. You have probably seen examples of this principle part of logos like the FedEx logo already mentioned. Your brain will distinguish between the objects it considers to be foreground of an image, which is the figure or focal point, and the background, which is the area of which the figure rests. Where things get interesting is when the foreground and background actually contains two distinct images, like this. Some people would immediately see the tree and birds when viewing the logo of Pittsburgh Zoo and PPG Aquarium, while others will see gorilla and lion staring at each other. In general terms, your brain will interpret the larger area of an image as the ground and the smaller as the figure. As shown in the image above, though you can see the lighter and darker colors can influence what is viewed as the figure and what is viewed on the ground. The foreground principle can be handy when product designers want to highlight a focal point, particularly when it is active or in use. For example, when a model window pops up and the rest of the site fades into the background, or when a search bar is clicked on and the contrast is increased between it and the rest of the site.